Want to build your bankroll for football season? We have you covered. Most sports shut down during the Olympics, but Major League Baseball will continue. With our summer baseball promotion, you get every MLB release from your favorite Wager Talk handicapper from the start of the Olympics through the first full college football Saturday on September 4th for only $1.99. MLB returns July 15th, and by signing up now, you can get up to 8 days free, dropping the daily price to just under $4 per day. This is the lowest price we have ever offered on baseball, so lock in your handicapper before the cost goes back to regular price.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Open Championship Preview Show with myself and my co-host Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Don't be mistaken, this is not the British Open. This is the Open Championship, and don't get it wrong because you will be chastised by some if you do. Andy Lang, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you? Looking forward to this week. What's going on with your package for this week?
It's exciting. I love this tournament. Of course, I love all tournaments, but from the time zone perspective of where we are, it's exciting to kind of be able to watch it at a different time of day. You're getting a completely different TV coverage if you watch it live. I thoroughly enjoy when the tournament has been over for 6 hours here in the States and they're rerunning the last round on NBC or whoever it is on Sunday, just in case nobody owns a phone out there. But no, I enjoy this. The link style course is great. The wind is great. It can humble a lot of guys. Very, very profitable betting strategies as this is very different from all the other majors. And a lot of good opportunities in DFS, in head-to-head matchups, outrights. I'm sure we'll get to all of that. Very, very excited about this week.
Yeah, this is certainly a major that you'll see some names that you might not have seen in a long time up in the leaderboards, and guys that have experience tend to do well. Tom Watson, 59 years young, just 10 years ago, was 8 feet away from winning the Claret Jug. So you never know what you're going to find in this event. For all the viewers out there, before we get into the show, I want to mention a promo for myself and Andy this week. Each of us have our Open Championship packs available at WagerTalk.com. You can get that for just $19 this week if you use promo code British20. Yes, it's not the British Open, but it was an easy way to throw a promo code together. So British20 takes $20 off the normal price of $39. Get it for just $19 this week, and that's on myself or Andy Lang's page at WagerTalk.com. All right, quickly before we get into the outrights, I just wanted to mention a few things about the course. Andy, I know you wanted to say a thing or two as well. Royal St. George's is the host of this year's Open Championship, which is the 15th time in the history of the Open Championship that Royal St. George's has been the host. The last time, 2011, Darren Clark lifted the Claret Jug, which was a hometown win, and boy, did he go crazy after that win. I looked up, his winning score was -5, and he took home a paycheck of £900,000. This year's winner, more than double that at £1.9 million. So quite a turnaround in 10 years as far as payouts go. The club is located in southern England. Forecast for the week is pretty much mid-60s all 4 days. It's pushing 70 on Sunday, but otherwise every other day is going to be right as you'd expect for a British Open, right in that mid-60 range. And the wind, of course, will be a factor. The course is right on the coast, and it looks like it's going to be pretty much 15, 25 mile per hour winds all 4 days. So as you can expect in a British Open, it's going to play very much like a British Open. There have been times in the past where it's been warm and not windy, but this will be what we've come to expect. I'm not seeing a lot as far as rain goes, but definitely the wind is where the fun happens. Andy, you had a few things you wanted to mention about the course this year as well?
Yeah, these are just some general stats and thoughts about the tournament as a whole because they rotated around. 14 of the last 20 winners of the British Open have won a tournament in the same season. And of the 6 champions that did not have wins in that season, 4 of them had multiple top 10 finishes. So current form seems to be very important. A lot of random winners that come out of this major. 9 out of the last 10 British Open champions have had at least one top 10 at the British before that. Makes sense. Wind, weather, in just about every British Open. So if you thrive in those conditions, you're going to see pretty consistent finishes at the tournament, regardless of the course. And to me, the most important stat over the years at the British has been greens and regulation. The winner since 2011 has averaged the 4th best greens in regulation throughout the tourney. You can speak more to the importance of hitting fairways at this particular course, but just over the years, kind of a factor to look at is who's hitting their greens this season.
Yeah, good points. I mean, the British Open, I looked at the past winners since Darren Clark. I mean, and you got guys that have a ton of experience. Phil Mickelson, Ernie Els. You got Spieth in there, was one of the younger ones that has actually won this thing. But the names in there, Francesco Molinari, I mean, you got names in there that aren't like the young whippersnappers. It's guys that have either grown up playing in a lot of the wind or on the European tour or play enough over there, or they're just at the very top of their game at the time that they're going over there. So it's kind of a small range of targeted players as far as outrights, which is where we'll start today and get into some of the outright winners, which is always fun to try to figure out who's going to win. And generally, in any major, this one especially, you're probably going to, for a real actual shot at winning this thing, you're probably going to have to stay in the top part of the board, not necessarily the top 4 or 5 guys, but the top half of the board for sure to find an outright winner. So, Andy, I'll go to you first. What's one of the outright plays you're looking at for this week?
Sure. I wanted to go with the guy who's a little bit more of a favorite and then kind of go down the list. So the first guy that's up in the top echelon of winners that I think could emerge this week, Jordan Spieth. I want to kind of follow the track of the stats I mentioned earlier. So he has a win this season. So he checks that box. He has a British Open win and 2 other top 10 finishes since 2013. So he checks that box. His season greens and regulation stats are terrible for the 2021 season. But Nick, as you and I have noticed, he's really improved over the last, call it 3 months. So when you're looking at season stats, you're kind of looking at 2 different seasons for this year for Jordan Spieth. He was hitting 30% of fairways and greens in the early part of the year. He's really improved that. And if he can keep the ball in the fairway, which always fingers crossed, but we've seen a short game. We've seen this guy, he's going to hit, if he makes it to the weekend, he's going to hit 4 or 5 completely long bomb putts or chip ins. That's just who he is. And if you get the Jordan Spieth that has a win this season, has a British Open win, keeps the ball in the fairway and hits his greens in regulation, he's got to be a favorite. And I would look for him to be in contention at the end on Sunday.
Yeah, you're right on the head. I mean, golf's all about what have you done for me lately. Spieth, number 2 in the world, strokes gained over the last 6 months and the last 3 months, behind only Rahm. So, yeah, he's been playing very, very well since the turn of the calendar. If we could back up and put that slide back up about the board in general, the top 10 odds, we forgot to go over that. So, looking at this board, I mean, you expect Jon Rahm to be the clear favorite as well as he's been playing. As I mentioned, he's pretty much led all golfers, European Tour, PGA Tour, worldwide, and strokes gained actually over the last 2 years now. So rightfully so, up at the top. Hard to bet a guy at 8-1 to win, but it's hard not to get your money on him some way. Then you got pretty much who you'd expect here. Schauffele still hasn't got that major win, but he's always right there. When you see guys like Matsuyama, now Rahm, and DeChambeau finally get off of that major hurdle, maybe this is Schauffele's chance to be the next guy, because he's now definitely the guy that is the best to yet win one. So maybe it's his chance. Koepka, not really sure how we feel about him this week. Spieth, you already hit on him. McIlroy, I don't know. He gets that win, and then he still plays like shit a couple weeks later. So hard to get a read on him. And DJ, Justin Thomas, neither in great form. Hovland, an interesting choice. And then the one absence I've noticed on here, Andy, who is it? Who's missing from this list? Who's been on every top 10 board for the last year, but he's not here?
Who's been on every top 10 board but isn't here? Is it Colin Morikawa?
Well, you're right there, but I'll give you a hint. Joe, our producer, Joe Ranieri, likes to refer to him as the meathead.
The meathead. Who's the meathead? I am completely.
We'll go with our man DeChambeau. DeChambeau, nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found on this list. And rightfully so. He's got 3 tournaments at the British Open, 2 missed cuts, tied for 51st is his best. Of course, this was pre-meathead DeChambeau, so perhaps a different, response this week. But you have to wonder, as far as value goes, that he's in the 35-1 range, I believe is where he's at. That he's never been priced that low in a long time. So It got me kind of like,
I would
wondering a little bit.
I wouldn't even consider him near this group for this week. Not even near this group. I didn't even put him as a player to avoid. That's how avoidable he is this week.
Oh, that's good. All right, fine. We'll forget about him. One I'll throw out outright I'm looking at this week is young Englishman Matthew Fitzpatrick. You had touched about experience in this event, Andy. This will be his sixth start here. And while he started off as a young kid, didn't have great results here, he did finally get his best result 2 years ago, last time it was played, where he finished tied for 20th. But he's coming off of that, playoff loss last week in the Scottish Open, which honestly could work either way, you could argue. I'm thinking it's going to help him more this week, getting the confidence going in. He's too young to really be worried about draining him. And he's already a winner on the European Tour several times to worry about it, that deflating effect of him not winning. So I think it's going to be a boost going into this week. Plus, St. George, as you mentioned, you could argue this week is important to hit fairways because there's a lot of fescue out there. And Fitzpatrick's solid off the tee, 13th in Tour shots gained off the tee, 17th in driving accuracy. Also a very solid putter, 24th in strokes gained putting this season. But he's always there. He's got 12 top 25 finishes this year in 21 starts worldwide, including 7 top 10. So 1 out of every 3 tournaments is in the top 10. Pretty solid. They did have that win in December on the European Tour. I was able to get him at 50-1 during the Scottish Open. I released that to clients last week. He's currently at 40-1, but still worth a decent play there. So I like Fitzpatrick this week as an option for an outright. Any other outrights you're looking at, Andy?
Yeah, this is going to surprise people. I'm not even going to give the name just yet. I'm just going to give you some stats. So this is a player that has 2 top 11 finishes in his last 4 tournaments, including an 8th place finish at the PGA Championship. So a couple good finishes, one of them at a major. He has 6 consecutive made cuts at the British Open, including a 2nd in 2014 and a 6th in 2019. And if we want to go back to 2011, the last time they played here, he finished 5th. I am talking about Pretty Ricky. Yes, Ricky Fowler. I think the value is here on him. He plays really good on link style courses. We've seen him play good in the wind. And he was terrible at the beginning of the year. He was pretty bad last year, but something has clicked a little bit. I think maybe he's realizing that he's fallen out of, he didn't play in the Masters this year. He didn't even qualify for the Masters. The pressure is on him to perform. This is a really good spot for him. Finally, he's not in the spotlight. I think the spotlight has moved way off of him. And this is a really good spot where he can go out, hit some fairways, make some putts. The stats kind of back it up based on what I'm looking at. And if you just take away the name and you look at the stats, I think at 85-1, it's pretty good. It wouldn't surprise me if he's top 20 this week.
It's funny that you did it that way because, those are stats you would not have guessed to be Ricky Fowler's recently. But you're right. He has started to play a little better recently. And PGA Championship, that top 10 was impressive. I still remember just a couple of weeks ago before the U.S. Open, talking about him, qualifying, going through that Monday qualifier to try to make the U.S. Open. Obviously, he didn't make it, but that being the biggest story on the tour that particular week. So, Ricky Fowler, I don't hate it. He's, I hope he gets back to his form sooner rather than later because he is one of those young guys that was great for golf, man. I mean, you saw a lot of kids idolizing Ricky, so hopefully he's back in that winter spotlight very, very soon. So I'll be cheering for you there. I'll throw one more name out there. Doesn't fit the bill necessarily as far as what you threw out there for stats of past winners, Andy, was, in terms of experience. But Victor Hovland is just good. I mean, it's that simple. He's just good. And he's got a short memory. He's young. He's 30-1 right now to win. It's only a matter of time before he wins a major. I mean, he's already got a couple of wins on tour. He's like Morikawa. He's going to get a major at some point, sooner rather than later, in my opinion. He did win his last start at the BMW International Open on the Euro Tour. The week after the U.S. Open, where, if you remember, he had a withdrawal from, I guess he got something in his eye, basically, and had that eye patch on for the press conference after he withdrew. So obviously recovered from that. But his numbers this year are just, they're good. He ranks 6th strokes gained off the tee, 18th strokes gained approach, 9th tee to green, 9th total strokes gained. He's in as good as form as anyone. He's got the 5th best strokes gained number in this field over the last 3 months. Averaging plus 2.11 strokes gained per round. And again, rare to see a young player win the Open Championship with the experience needed here. But he's got a lot of talent. He's got the right mindset. He's proven he can win over in Europe. I think he's worth a decent play. I won't be surprised if he has a bad week either. But I think he's going to definitely be my card, and I'll definitely be throwing a few bucks on him. So, quick recap for those of you just joining on our outright plays this week. Andy threw out there Jordan Spieth. And, of course, Ricky, pretty Ricky. And I'm going with Matthew Fitzpatrick and Victor Hovland. So good ways to try to get that outright winner this week. All right, promo code reminder to everybody. British 20 this week, British 20 for the Open Championship. Get $20 off the package for either Andy or myself. Normally priced at $39. Get it for just $19. Outright plays, leaderboard plays, daily fantasy matchups, if I'm not mistaken, Andy, you have in your package?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. You're going to get head-to-head matchups. You're going to get DFS. You're going to get props. You're just going to get a little bit of everything. There's a lot of ways to attack majors. The books are really good in putting out a little bit of everything. And, not a little bit of everything, a lot of everything. So you get a lot more options with the majors. And I know you love taking advantage of that, as do I. So you'll probably get more bets than normal in normal packages. Dailies are included. So if we have, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those will be included in the packages. It really is just a great deal for only $19 to get it. We've had success all year in the majors. Looking really forward to it. And the last major, I had a DFS lineup that was in the top 3% of the DraftKings Millionaire contest. So if you followed that one, you made a pretty penny off of that one. So and it's one of those things where you could get both of our packages and do really well in it. So it's worth it for sure.
Yeah. For less than $5 a day, definitely give him a shot. Check it out. All right, a couple players not on our radar this week. Who are you? Whether it's a head-to-head matchup looking fade, or at least in an outright market, simply not looking to touch this weekend. Anybody you're looking at or not looking at? Excuse me.
Yeah, well, personally, I'm so done with Tony Finau. I'm never betting on that guy again. It just goes horribly wrong whenever I'm involved in a bet with Tony. But I have a list of guys I'm staying away from, and I think it's just time to accept who Rory McIlroy is. He's a big name, but I just am seeing him as just kind of one of the guys, and he continues to be considerably overpriced. So, I just went back to the COVID restart. He has one win. He has 7 top 10s. He's 84th in strokes gained putting. He's 174th in round 1 scoring average. So he gets off to these horrible starts. And then he's 132nd in round 4 scoring average. So when he does make it to Sunday, he's terrible on Sunday. So let me just throw a couple names out there who have unbelievably similar stats with one win, some top 10s, but not terrific stats. This is Harris English, and this is Jason Kokrak. And you can get these guys at much, much cheaper prices, whether it's DFS, whether it's outright winners, whether it's head-to-head matchups. These are the same guys if you just take away the name. And Rory right now is big name value. He's kind of got a high ceiling, but he also has the low floor. McIlroy has 11 top 20s and no wins in his last 22 majors. That's similar to Louis Oosthuizen. That's similar to Webb Simpson. And here's a stat. This one can blow your friend's mind. Nick, this is one of those where if you're talking to your golf buddies and you want to blow their mind, here you go. So in the last 9 majors, Rory McIlroy has 0 wins and 2 missed cuts. There are 3 golfers who also have 2 missed cuts in those 9 majors, but they have a win. Those 3 golfers are Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, and Phil Mickelson. Phil Mickelson has the exact same amount of missed cuts in the last 9 majors as Rory McIlroy and has a win, and Rory does not. I just think we elevate Rory a little bit too high. The value is not there. And for a guy that finishes weak and starts off weak, I will be nowhere near Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, I agree. I faded Rory in 2. I rarely pick on a player twice in head-to-head matchups. I did it last week at the Scottish Open, won both of those. So I agree with you 100% on fading Rory. And I love the way you put that out there of, let's look at 3 players without a name you see the stats are all the damn same, but you look at the prices and go, why would I ever pay the price on that guy? So that's a great way to look at it. So definitely a good choice there. Mine this week is DJ. I just don't think his game is even close to the kind of form needed to be where he's priced at. Yes, he's back to world number one somehow, even though Rahm still had another top 10 this last week. But he hasn't been playing like that for quite some time. Over the last 3 months, he ranks 33rd in this field in strokes gained per round with just one top 10 in his last 9 starts. I mean, that's unimpressive for the world number one. He missed the cut in 2 of the last 3 majors. And again, for the price, he's just a player that I'm going to be avoiding this week. Fading probably in some matchups. Definitely not going to be playing on any sort of outright or daily fantasy type of a markup. All right, let's move on to matchups, the bread and butter of golf betting, of course. Outrights are fun, but matchups are where the big money can be made. One guy to beat another guy over the course of 4 days, sometimes 2 days, depending on if you make the cut or not. Andy, I'll go to you first. Let's give us one matchup that you're looking at this week.
I'll take a guy who in golf circles is one of those guys that's very high on everyone's list, but the casual golf fan probably has no idea who this guy is. And I will take Guido Migliozzi over Eric Van Rooyen this week. I actually lost a bet on him last week, but he played really solid golf and he lost by 1 shot to Matt Wallace. Wallace made the cut by 1, played amazing on the weekend, and then ended up beating Guido by 1 shot. He had a great showing, and his consistency is very impressive. Finished 35th, 13th, 4th, 2nd, and 2nd in his last 5 tournaments. That is a lot better than Eric Van Rooyen, who has missed the cut in 5 out of his last 6 tournaments. The one tournament he made the cut at was a 10th at the Palmetto, very, very weak field. Van Rooyen has missed the cut or withdrawn in his last 3 majors that he's played in. Van Rooyen, a couple of decent finishes at the British last 2 times he's played here. That was 2019, 2018, and to put it mildly, a lot has happened since then. And here we go, little sneaky. This is very sneaky. This is right up my alley. Eric Van Rooyen is awaiting the birth of a child. It could happen any day now. So he has a lot of things on his mind. And I love that angle, golfers that have other things on their mind. So I just think Migliozzi is a great, great pick in this matchup over Van Rooyen.
Andy, you love the baby fade. You love the baby.
Fade the baby.
It's a good angle. It's a good angle. Good luck with that one. And I like the fact that you're giving out names that some of the viewers definitely haven't heard of. I'm going to go the other way, and I know you're going to make fun of me on this one because, it's very squarish play. But I mentioned before, Rahm's not a guy I'm going to get behind on the outright market this week. But I want to get my money on him some way, and he's not cheap. He does have 3 matchup opportunities out there. None of them are cheap. Minus 180 right now is where he's at against Dustin Johnson. More than I normally would like to play for a matchup, but I think it's well worth it. I already mentioned how much I don't like DJ, but I mean, who's been better than Rahm? I mean, after getting the Memorial ripped out of his hands with that positive COVID test, he had a 6-shot lead going into that for the 3rd round. He rebounds by winning the U.S. Open his next start. And then last week, he had his chances. He ended up finishing 7th at the Scottish Open. But again, it's been a long time where he's really been out of contention. He leads the tour in total strokes gained per round the last 3 months, the last 6 months, the last 12 months, and the last 2 years. Talk about consistent and the best player, without a question, as far as the numbers goes over this last 2-year period. And he's a good reason he's a betting favorite. So unfortunately, you're going to have to pay a little bit on him this week, and it's definitely a square play, one I usually don't like to make. But again, I had to get some money on him this week. One thing I will be looking at, I'll add, is that if he gets off to a somewhat slow start on Thursday, perhaps we'll get him in that 15 to 20 to 1 range. And he's got plenty of chance in 3 days to come back and make up ground on anyone. So he'll definitely be a live play I'll be looking at after round 1 if he gets off to that slow start. So keep that in mind as well. Another matchup that you like, Andy, any other ones that stick out to you?
Well, I'm fully on board with the fading Dustin Johnson. I've already made a 1% play on DJ to miss the cut. I got plus 410 on it. So I'm absolutely with you on fading Dustin Johnson. Dustin's another one that gets off the slow starts way down the board for round 1. And you don't want to do that in the majors. You just can't dig yourself a hole in these majors. So I'm fully on board with Rahm over DJ. I think that's a good one. I'll take another big hitter, Jason Kokrak. I mentioned him earlier. I'll take him over Brian Harman. This is a big fade against Brian Harman in tough conditions. Wind, he just does not play well in. Notoriously short driver of the ball, 143rd on tour in driving distance, and that just really hurts him in these windy conditions that you see over in Europe. And this is translated in him missing the cut the last 4 times at this tournament, all on different courses. It's just a style of golf that does not fit him well. He's 138th in greens in regulation. That's not going to get it done. Both these guys do have good current form with multiple top 10 finishes, but Kokrak outdrives Brian Harman by 16 yards. And believe it or not, Kokrak 28th this season in greens and regulation. So he's driving the ball well and he's taking advantage by putting it on the green. This is an easy play for me. Kokrak over Brian Harman.
I like it. Harman was a guy that I was kind of riding on a little bit over the last 2 months because he's been playing well. But I like all your reasons, this particular week not to get behind him. And Kokrak, you can't argue him 2 wins this year. He's a very good player himself. So I like the play there from you on Kokrak. I'll throw one last one out there. I'll go back to kind of your first one, maybe names you haven't heard of, especially if you don't follow golf on the regular. And that's Aussie Lucas Herbert, minus 125 right now over Thomas Detry. Herbert is in great form. He's coming off a tie for 4 last week at the Scottish Open, a week after winning at the Irish Open. And then his 2 starts prior to that, both on the PGA Tour, he finished in the top 20 at the Travelers and at the Memorial. He ranks 17th in this field in strokes gained per round over the last 3 months, averaging nearly a stroke and a half gained on the field per round. And he's 3rd over the last 30 days, averaging 2.37 strokes gained per round. So he is definitely in good form right now. And being a Euro player, he's going to be comfortable over here. Detry had a good showing last week. He did lose in that playoff, at that 3-way playoff at the Scottish Open. So he's coming off a very good week. But before that, he did miss back-to-back cuts, including at the U.S. Open. In his 8 starts prior to last week, he has 1 other runner-up finish on the Euro Tour, to go along with 3 missed cuts and his best other finish, a tie for 43rd. So it's kind of like feast or famine for him. More famine for sure. He's in the bottom half of this field over the last 3 months, losing over a half a stroke gained tee to green per round. So for me, form dictates Herbert. I think is a decent play this week over Detry. So quick recap of our matchups for this week. Andy's got Guido Migliozzi over Eric Van Rooyen, and he also likes Kokrak over Harman, which I like as well. I went a little chalky with my first play, going Rahm. I just got to get some money on him over DJ, and then of course Lucas Herbert, who I know you have plastered, posters over your wall in your bedroom. Lucas Herbert over Thomas Detry. All right, moving on from matchups. Andy, I like to go to you for this part because this is definitely your bread and butter. The daily fantasy preview. Who are your guys this week you're targeting? Where are the bargains to be had as far as making your daily fantasy lineups this week? And in general, what's your strategy here in these type of major events?
Well, there's several ways you can attack DFS. And to be honest, I only play daily fantasy in golf on the majors. It's just over the years, I've learned what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And I do very well when the majors are around. I think it's just the amount of options in the course history. There's a couple different theories. You can go with stars and scrubs, which is lower tier guys combined with higher priced guys. You can go middle of the road if you want to try and get a lot of guys that are consistent. And I will have probably 3 or 4 daily fantasy matchups. I'm sorry, daily fantasy lineups in the golf package. If you do have my golf package, expect a lot of plays to be coming out tomorrow, especially with DFS. For example, Zach Johnson got ruled out with a positive COVID test. So need to make sure that you get all the latest news on all these golfers. So expect a lot of things to be coming out tomorrow. Just check your updates. And this is an example of a DFS lineup that will go in there. And while I may not have a Lucas Herbert poster, I do have him in my lineup at 6,800, as you mentioned. As you mentioned, great form. And at 6,800, this is what we're looking for. 4 straight top 20 finishes, including win 2 weeks ago, 4th last week. I'm going to go with Guido at 7,100. A lot of made cuts. A couple months ago, streak of 3 straight top 4 finishes. He's played in 1 major and finished 4th. So he's shown he can show up on the big stage. I'm going to go with Ricky Fowler. Great stats. British Open made the cut in 3 out of 4. Appears to be on the upswing. Scotty Scheffler at 8,200. He's one of these middle of the road guys that has just shown up at the majors. 5 top 20 finishes in his last 5 majors. He hasn't played this course, and he has not played in a British Open, but if he can do it 5 straight times at majors at 8,200, I think I'm getting a steal. And I think for the value at 9,200, Colin Morikawa might be the best on the board. This guy's a major champion. He's finished 18th, 8th, and 4th in the last 3 majors this year. So at 9,200, he's very, very underpriced. I mean, this is a guy that's priced below DeChambeau, who I would much rather have Morikawa over. He's priced below Dustin Johnson. I'd rather have that. And the reason I wanted to do this lineup is this is a way to get John Rahm, the betting favorite. Sometimes it's really hard to get the number 1 DFS guy in there, but 11,300. This is a lineup where you can get the number 1 player in there. So Herbert, Migliozzi, Fowler, Scheffler, Morikawa, and Rahm.
Awesome lineup. Good strategy for sure. I'm glad you got Rahm in on something, because now I don't feel like my guy just did a great job this tournament. You did it a little smarter than me though on the daily fantasy. So kudos to you on that one. All right, let's talk about one last thing before we end the show, and I always like to call this the long shot segment, where we, it's like that fish story you tell your buddies for years and years that you caught that 3-pound fish one year, but by 30 years later, it's a 50-pound fish that you fought for 3 hours. And these are the long shots, the ones you want to brag about to your buddies, that you hit that 150 to 1 player, 17 years ago on this event. And it doesn't matter. You always have that with you. So, Andy, the nice part about the majors is you get some guys in some of the smaller events that are normally priced at 50 to 1, 60 to 1. Now you're getting them at 150 to 1, 200 to 1 for some. I know I'm licking my chops on a few guys. Will they pull through? Obviously, they're long shots for a reason, but they're in good enough form to take a chance on a few guys. So we'll go to you first. What's one of the guys you're looking at this week in the long shot area?
These are long shots, and it's funny. We just went over you got to have great current form, and you got to have played here for a good time, and you got to be top 10. And long shot number 1 for me, Richard Bland. He's not going to be bland if he wins this thing. Top 20 his last 5 his last 5 tournaments. His finishes are 15th, 4th, 50th, 3rd, and a win. He played in the British Open 1 time and finished 22nd. You're getting incredible odds on a guy who is in good form, so he checks that box. So my first long shot, Richard Bland.
250 to 1. Love it. Wait a minute. Wasn't he just in the 3rd round lead? Was it the U.S. Open? There was something he was the leader at, and he choked it away. Was the U.S. Open?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a 4-round tournament. That's the bummer part about it.
The point is, it's a major. He was there. He showed up. Yeah, he didn't have the pedigree to close it, but give me a guy at 250 to 1 that at least has a chance on Sunday. I'll take it every single time. So cool bet there. One I like, we've talked about, is a winner already on tour this year. Sam Burns, 150 to 1. Normally, again, I like to say he's in that 50 to 1 range, but 150 to 1, nearly 10 to 1 just for a top 10. He's a risk for sure, but who isn't at these type of odds? He did withdraw from the PGA, and he missed the cut at the U.S. Open, but he has 4 other top 20 finishes in his last 5 starts since the beginning of May, with a win at the Valspar and a runner-up at the Byron Nelson. And he does rank 9th in this field in total strokes gained over the last 3 months, averaging 1.71 plus 1.71 per round. So pretty good form for a guy on that 150 to 1 price tag. Love these long shots. Let's throw one last one out there. Go ahead, Andy, for all the listeners. One more long shot winner.
Well, one thing I want to say about long shots is there's more than one way to play these long shots. Like Nick and I are not saying, well, you got to put Richard Bland to win, but this could be a very good price. And, Sam Burns could be very low priced in DFS, or you could find him in a really good head-to-head matchup. So, when we give out these long shots, just know it's not just to outright win. We're saying that there's value on them at a very, very low price. This is how you exploit the markets is what we're saying with this. This one, I'm actually not laughing about. I am pretty serious about this one. Lucas Glover is coming right off of a win. And this is a guy who has won a major before. Now, it was 2009, but to get a guy who has a pedigree of winning a major, he knows what it's like. He's not going to be intimidated by being in a major. He's not intimidated by the big stage. He's tasted victory. He finished 20th at the British Open in 2019. And in 2011, when they played this course, he finished 12th. So he's got decent history recently at a British Open. He's played good on this course. He got his win in the last 10 years last week, and this is a former major winner. I'm pretty stunned at these odds, to be honest, when you just kind of read the pedigree of that. I think there's ways to make some money off of Lucas Glover this week.
I'll be honest with the odds that he's at right now. I honestly thought we'd see him under 100 to 1. Usually the markets in golf overreact after 1 week so much, especially coming off a win. I would have bet that he would have been listed under 100 to 1. So to see him at a 180 to 1 is quite a nice price. So I agree with that pick this week. Lucas Glover, nice choice. I'll go one more guy out there, old timer, 48 years young. Very impressive this season. He's got a run of 8 straight cuts. He's got 2 wins on the year. Any ideas, Andy?
48 years young. He's got 2 wins. Boy, this is a good one. I thought you were going to go with Garrett Higo, but he's got 3 wins, and I don't think he's that old. No, who are you going with?
That would be Stuart Sink. Sink. He ranks number 21 on tour in strokes gained approach this year. Number 7 greens in regulation. What did you say on the beginning of the show was an important stat this week? Greens in regulation. Number 7 on tour in greens and reg. He still bombs it at 48 years old. He's 25th in driving distance, which is damn impressive. And the Open Championship is about experience. We talked about that at the beginning of the show, and it's known for old timers pulling through and making deep runs. As I already mentioned, Tom Watson at 59 years old, damn nearly winning this thing. So maybe Sink won't get over the finish line, but he's pretty good value to be somewhere up on that leaderboard. Or I'm glad you brought that up, Andy. Or in any other way that you might want to bet him this week, as far as a matchup, he's probably a good play against whoever he's priced against in that same range. Or on the leaderboards at plus 950 for a top 10. Or plus 410 for a top 20. So quick recap of the long shots from Andy and myself this week. You can see here on the board we got Dick Bland, good old Richard Bland from Andy, as well as Lucas Glover, both long numbers, both tons of different ways to look at playing them. I'm looking at Sam Burns and Stuart Sink. So definitely some guys to have fun with and get behind this week. One last time reminder of the packages for Andy and myself up at WagerTalk.com. Go to either one of our pages there. You can use promo code British20 to get $20 off this week's Open Championship package. Get it for just $19 instead of $39. And again, we got outright plays, leaderboard plays, and he's going to have some daily fantasy lineups in there as well. And of course, we'll have matchups both for the tournament and daily as well. So 4 days of action, less than $5 per day, everything we release throughout the entire tournament. So make sure to head on our pages at WagerTalk.com to check that out. All right. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Andy, pleasure as always doing this major show with you. And we will be back in time for the FedEx Cup in just a few weeks. Talk about a little bit of some futures plays on who could win the FedEx Cup as we head into that 3-tournament stretch to end the PGA Tour season. So thanks as always, guys, for tuning in, and good luck with your bets.